Hello, everyone. Looking at our first reading by Immanuel Kant, 1784. Kant was a very famous German philosopher of the time, incredibly important in the history of philosophy for a lot of reasons. This is unusual for Kant, I suppose. We think of Kant in philosophy. I'm a philosophy teacher normally as being writing these big, imposing books about metaphysics, epistemology, and moral theory, amongst other things. But he was an active public intellectual. And this work, What is Enlightenment, from 1784, the full name of it is an answer to the question, what is enlightenment? It was published in a newspaper, and that newspaper called upon various people, public, famous academics and intellectuals, to answer the question, what is enlightenment, to define enlightenment. And this is Kant's answer. There are a lot of different ideas which we will unpack in this essay. I will discuss a few of them, but I wanted to emphasize what I consider to be the most important idea, at least the one that appears to me after years of reading it and reading it with students and thinking about it and thinking about its relation to contemporary society. What struck me as being the most important idea, and that's the one that's embodied in this quote: the public use of one's reason must always be free, and it alone can bring about enlightenment among mankind. I think that what Kant is saying here is that there has to be a place within every society in which there is free speech. And what does free speech mean? A place in which people feel free to express their opinions about anything candidly without any fear of repercussion. And that, most importantly, besides the freedom of speech here, is that it be public speech. That is, that people feel that they can express their opinions, again, about any topic, not just about politics or religion, but about science and philosophy and art and whatever else it is. That they can feel that they can express their opinion without any fear of repercussion. That is, that they can publish works, speak in the public forum, whatever it is, newspapers, today the internet, without any fear that their opinions will somehow get them into trouble. That for Kant, if we see the reason that he thinks that there needs to be such a place, it is not that he says that it's a right. Now, if we look at the Bill of Rights in the U.S. Constitution, which we will later in the course, free speech is really assumed to be a right of the individual. Whereas Kant sees it in more social terms. Free speech is necessary in order for us to reach enlightenment, to become an enlightened society. That without free speech, which is the exchange of opinions, where people say what they think, other people read it or hear it and criticize it and work with it, and ideas flow freely throughout society and are subject to examination and criticism, that without this, we, as he says, are violating the sacred destiny of the human species, which is to move towards enlightenment, because it's only if ideas can get out there and people can think about them and we can exchange our thoughts and opinions that we come closer to not only knowledge, but a better society. So I thought this was a good place to start. That is, there are other things we have to work out. But this claim on Kant's part that there has to be such a place. Of course, he believes that reason, what he calls the private use of reason, which is the use of reason that we use when we are playing a specific role in society as a pastor or a government official or somewhere or another, some kind of role that restricts the freedom of our expression, where we have to sort of toe the party line to do our jobs. That the use of reason, speech, self-expression can be and should be, he says, in these roles that we play should be limited. But there must be some place but what he calls the public use of reason, in which we feel absolutely free. Otherwise, we are more or less saying that we're no longer going to make innovations and changes. We're no longer going to try to get better in different areas, whether that's science or philosophy or politics or social life. That is, if we say that there's no longer any need or that we don't want to freely exchange opinions, we basically said that we're stuck where we are. And this would, he says, violate our sacred duties as a species to move towards enlightenment. I think this is still a provocative idea if we think about our own society and the kind of ambivalence that we have about free speech, especially with the advent of the internet, because we've seen how toxic free speech can actually be, and we've had all sorts of national traumas in this country because of the questions about free expression. This is still a hot topic, and this is still an incredible claim on Kant's part that we should think about. Again, there are other aspects of this essay that I will talk about that I want us all to understand, but this is the central one, this claim that the freedom of speech, not in every venue, not in every situation, but there has to be some place, some medium where speech is free, and this free speech is absolutely necessary for the progress of our society towards what he calls enlightenment.